Hi, Yolan. Okay, so this is part two of showing you the land that I've bought. So we saw the first half last time, and I'm going to show you the second half. So it's the back three fields and the woodland strip that goes along the river. Unfortunately, I don't own the river. My neighbour behind me does, which I'm very jealous about, I have to say. When we came to see the house, I did think that the boundary or part of the boundary was the river, but it turns out that there's only like one, and I really mean that much. So in real terms, it's probably about my sort of arm span length of river that I actually can go and touch. The rest of it is windy, and the land on both sides is my neighbour's land. Anyway, but before we do that, I'm going to answer some of the comments that you made. So if anyone's watching this and they're wondering who's Yolon, Yolon is a friend of mine for whom I'm making these videos, and I didn't think that anyone else would be watching because I don't have an established YouTube channel with loads of followers or whatever, so I thought it would just be me and her. But apparently there are other people watching. I'll tell you more about Yolon in another video and how we met, etc. But for now, yeah, please bear with me. If you're not Yolon and you're watching this, I'm talking to you too. Hello and welcome. But yeah, so I'm going to go through these really quickly because I'm in the conservatory at the minute because of the wind. It's blowing a gale out there and it might start raining again, so I want to shoot through and show you the back before it does start bucketing down. So I'm going to whiz through. So the first thing that you mentioned about was the trees behind the house providing a shelter belt and all of that stuff, and you're right. I've kind of thought about that too. It's not just the shelter belt, it's quite nice to have a small garden out the back that's quite enclosed, but there's a big part of me that really wants to have a vast open space behind the house as well, to be able to see out to the land and enjoy the view, because to the front is just the road and there are trees and then someone else's field. It's a farmer that's just up the road, and they did actually say that they're going to take those trees down so it's more of a hedge line now, and that will be more useful for the birds. But the reason why they didn't do that before is because they didn't like the people that lived here. I don't think anyone liked the people that I bought this house off. I didn't obviously know that until after we moved in, but anyway. So yeah, I would like the view, but you're right, it probably would provide shelter to the house, but also I really love the squirrels going in there. So they're in there, and they're at the moment it's fruiting. I think one of them's an alder tree. I don't know what the other ones are, and it's giving off like these little nut seeds type things. I don't know what the fruits are called, but they're shelling them and storing up their winter food at the moment, and it's really cute. I do worry about if one of them did fall, whether it would hit the house. So that is a concern, because we've got the barns just to that side, we've got the summer house just in the garden, and then we've got the house here. So if one of them fell, I don't know. Anyway, so the next thing on my list is the quince. So you mentioned about making quince jelly, and it's a shame I've taken it down. If I could have done that, but the reason why I took it down was because it had, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 flowers on it, and then it produced 2 fruits. And for a massive, big, sprawling mess that it was, to only produce 2 fruits is not very productive, and it blocks the light to our living room, which is very dark. These old stone houses are quite dark, and it kind of blocks the view outwards from the living room as well. So I thought, well, it just has to come down. But also, there are babies there, and it was when I saw the babies that I decided to take it down. So I'm going to dig some of them up, and I'm going to put them into the orchard, or the orchard that I'm going to be establishing. So hopefully in a few years' time I will have some productive quince plants. And what was the other thing? Okay, so you mentioned about poultry, whether I was going to get poultry. You are right, I don't eat eggs, but that's because of the way the chickens are farmed and the cruelty in the process. So I don't buy them. But I was at my friend's house in Cornwall a year or so ago. I was duck sitting for her while she was on holiday, and I did have a poached duck egg on toast for breakfast every morning, and it was absolutely lovely. But yeah, for myself, I'm don't really think I am going to get any poultry, just because I do still have that thing of the ethics of it, of having an animal and using it, and it not having a natural life, in the sense that we control them when they can breed. We take their eggs away from them, and all of these sorts of things. I'm just not convinced that I would find it kind. I've thought about the possibility of maybe getting, ex-battery hens, rescue hens or whatever. I don't know what they call them, but anyway. The other big concern for me is the fact that I actually don't want the responsibility, because there's a lot of care involved in managing them, in the sense that you have to make sure that they're safe from predation. You have to make sure you let them in and out every day. So they're a real tie keeping you here, it's difficult when you want to go away anywhere. And also in the winter, in the depths of the icy cold and snow and stuff, to have to get up and go out and come back in and all of that stuff. You just want to be snuggled up by the fire, rather than sticking on your wellies and your winter coat and all of that to go outside in the pouring rain and everything. So there's that. But also the vet bills. So I'm really not. We spent all of our money buying this, so we don't have much money left over every month to put aside for if a chicken or a duck or something gets unwell and it needs to go to the vet. We had to have our poor little bird put down a couple of months ago, and that was devastating. It was horrible. I've had him since he was a tiny little baby, and the vet bills were hundreds of pounds, so there's that as well to think about. Okay, waffling on, I really need to speed this up. So you mentioned about turning the wet ground to my advantage. You said something about, rivulets and it powering like a turbine or something like that. And I really, really admire your confidence in me, but I just don't have the knowledge or skill to do something like that. I would not even know where to begin. Even I was thinking of, okay, if I put in French drains, at least to help drain it into one of the drainage ponds, but I wouldn't have a clue of where to put them, what direction to put them in, whether I'm doing it right or anything like that. So at the moment, I'm just making do with it, and I'm guessing over time, once we've had this for a while, I'll come up with some sort of a solution. The more research I do, and probably a little bit of trial and error as well. But at the moment, creating and establishing a growing space is my priority, and then later on, I'll try to come up with something for that, even if it's just, digging a bit more of a hole and creating a bog garden or something. And then the last thing was, you mentioned about maybe renting a field or two to a farmer to put their animals on, which would then keep the grass low. It was tempting, I have to confess, when we first got the keys and saw how the land had really gotten away. It was really, really high growth and everything like that. However, I kind of like it because of the fact that it's full of wildflowers, or what most people would call weeds, which is really good for the wildlife. So the bees, the butterflies, all of the pollinators, and lots of other insects are on the plants, on the flowers, using them for whatever their own purposes are. And considering how much insects are declining, it is a worry. So anything I can do to help them, I'm really happy to do. It's difficult when I have to, because I'm still cutting the path, so I've cut some, but I need to cut a lot more, and it is very difficult doing it through the long grass, because you have to be so careful. Hedgehogs, frogs, there are newts, all the insects. I don't know if we've got slow worms or grass snakes or anything here. I haven't seen any yet, but some people, they'll use a strimmer or a lawnmower and they'll go right down low to start off with, and then you don't know what's in the grass, and you could do an awful lot of damage and harm to creatures that are in there. So what I do is, I kind of explained it in the last video, but I didn't really explain why I do what I do. So I use the strimmer and I go quite high, just cut the tops off. the next day I might cut it a little bit lower, and then I'll go in with the lawnmower on a very higher setting it will go, and then I'll start cutting it like that, and then go lower as on further cuts. And mostly, with the exception of the slugs, I do accidentally sometimes catch a slug with the mower. I've been able to, you know, the lawnmower at the high setting, it will go straight over a frog, so they crouch down like that. And when once the mower's over it, I'm constantly looking down towards my feet as well, so in front of me where it's going, and then down towards my feet, making sure that I'm not stepping on anything that the mower has gone over. So there has been the occasional frog that I've gone over. It's coochied down, and then it jumps off as soon as the mower's gone. So thank God I haven't hurt, damaged or killed one. So yeah, it does take six times longer, 7 times longer, maybe 10 times longer to do it that way. But at least my heart and my conscience is clear that I am not doing a lot of damage. I just don't see the point. I know it takes less time, but I don't understand how people, I know they're insects or small creatures or whatever, but I can't not care. I sometimes I see things when we came to see this house, he showed me there was like a pile of alpaca poo, because he had alpacas here, and he said, oh, look at how good this is. So he dug his spade in, and it was absolutely chock-a-block full of worms, and then he kind of shoved the mud off, and then he was sort of going like that with his spade, and me and my husband were looking at it like absolutely cringing, and like, just stop, because I know people say, oh well, if a worm gets cut in half it will grow back into 2 worms, but you know, if someone rips my nail off, it might grow back, but it's gonna hurt. Anyway, I stopped ranting. Let's get out there before the rain starts. Okay, so I'm going to whiz you through the same way we went last time, but I'm going to speed it up. So this at the moment is the only way to access the back fields. I will be remedying that over the next few months. So first I'm going to take you down towards the river. God, I have to be really careful here, because it's I don't know if you can see, you can't really turn the camera, but it's sloping down that way, this path, and it also slopes down that way, and it's very wet because it's been raining all morning. So I'm trying not to fall on my bum and embarrass myself. So I've been through here and done a little bit of clearing, because before it was loads of brambles, but I've left quite a few of the baby trees because I would like to dig them up and relocate them so that they're not in a path, and I create my own little woodlands from the seedlings that are already here, rather than having to buy them in. So I'm just going to navigate through these to make sure I don't crush anything. So I actually love this area. It's really beautiful. I love these. I mean, there's a lot of brambles, obviously, as you can see over there, but these ferns, oh, they're just gorgeous. Look at them. And again, this bit here is quite steep going downwards, so I'm wondering I might cut a step or 2 into it to make the descent a little bit safer, especially when it's wet. Can you hear the river already? Look at that, isn't it gorgeous? Now, unfortunately, there is this fence and this barbed wire, which I think the person, my neighbour behind over here, he put it in because the guy who used to have this house, he started going to the river and doing things, which was, you know, on the neighbour's land. So he put up a fence. So I can't take you all the way along this area because it does get impenetrable, but I'm just going to take you along this way because it's so beautiful. I just love the brown of the leaves on the ground and then the green of the ferns everywhere. Oh, it's a bit stinky here. I wonder if there's a little dead animal. It didn't smell like that last time I came. Oh dear. Right, so I'm going to take you just to this little dip over here and then tell you a little bit about it. So here's, I don't know if you can see this post here. So here's the fence here, and then the river's over there. So that's my neighbour's land. I would really love it if the boundary was the river so that I could actually just go to it. But anyway, it doesn't matter. We can't have everything when we're working on a budget, can we? So this will then go up there, or I'm probably going to make a path going along this way. So I can't really go much further beyond here because it does get a little bit impenetrable. So basically, what happened was when we came to see the place on our first viewing, I think the guy who owned it realised that the river was really important to us. So when we came for our second viewing a couple of weeks later, he had actually reopened the path. So there is a path that runs along the entire back of the boundary of the property through this woodlanded area. So you're kind of going alongside parallel to the river the whole time. And it was when we came back and we were able to do that walk. I mean, it is a bit hairy in places, so it needs a lot of work to make it safely walkable. But it was when we did that walk that we decided, yeah, this is the place for us. The river, this woodland walk, oh my God, just heaven. Anyway, I'm going to head back and take you back round, and then we'll go and see the other fields. One thing I love about Wales that I've not really seen in England as much is that there is just moss everywhere. Okay, so I'll stop here for a minute as we've come through the gate. So you can see how steep, well, I don't know, it's the perspective right on the camera, but this is quite steep going up. This is steep as well, but not as steep as going directly up that way. Obviously we can't because it's overgrown, but I'm going to walk up this way. Now, I might pause at the top because on my last video, you could, as I was going up and down while I was climbing uphill, you could really hear me breathing quite heavily. And I have actually stopped watching YouTube videos if I could hear the people breathing because I find it really annoying. So I do apologise about that. And in fact, a commenter even pointed it out and said, I have a lot to learn about making vlogs. Anyway, we're going to go to the top. I'll meet you there. So we are in field number 3 at the moment. This is one of the high points, and when you go further up there, that's even higher. So you've got quite a nice view through that little gap there when you get further along up there. So in this field, I've really only got this one path cut. I would like to do more going through here. So that's where we came. So if you go down there, that's where the gate is. for the to go to the river. And at the end of this field there's another one. I'm playing a game of dodge at the moment because of the millions and millions and millions of slugs on the path. I have to keep trying to make sure I'm not squishing them. Right, so I'm going to stop here a minute so you can see. I don't know if you can see, it's a bit too far away, but the other gate is just over there. And over there, you probably can't see it. Can you see? I don't think you can. It's quite a nice view. It's a bit foggy today. Right, so let's go down here. We're going now into field number 4. So, you can't see it. I have cut a path that goes through there. However, it has grown, it's regrown. So you can't really see it, but it's good enough for me to walk through. It's surprising how quickly the paths regrow if you let them go. Because it rains so much here, we've had an awful year, I suppose, in general across the country. But Wales is renowned for the amount of rain that it gets. And you can't really come out with a lawnmower in the rain, or even when the grass is wet. So this is just full of meadowsweet, actually. There was a lot of meadowsweet here. Where is the meadowsweet? I can't see it now, it's all stopped flowering. But there was a lot of meadowsweet, a lot of thistles. I don't know if you can see that. The birds really love the seeds. These little copse of trees here, those are all willow trees. And I can't take you beyond there, but that tree line over there is the road. So it goes all the way along that way. And this tree line is the tree line that goes to the second field. But anyway, let's quickly whiz along this way. I'll show you the last field. So, this field and the 5th field, I believe, were probably all one field. So the guy who owned the house bought these back fields a while ago. They weren't part of his, initial allocation. And he bought them, and I think he divided these off. So, I don't know, let me get closer. Okay, so he put in this line of trees. You can see they're quite young. They haven't really filled out yet. And this line as well of trees going right the way down to the bottom there. Now, I don't know how well you can see this, but see this mass of shrubbery here? That's all blackthorn. So you can see that spreading. And I want to be able to get in there at some point to control the spread, because I think it's great to have it, and a lot of animals will use it. I also use the sloes for herbal medicine, but I don't want it to cover the whole land, if you know what I mean, to just keep going and keep going until I think he planted quite a lot of young trees along here. I don't want them to not be able to survive because the blackthorn is just encroaching into their space. Anyway, let's go through here. I really can't wait until I'm able to cut a path through here and be able to walk along there. So here's that copse again. So beyond that copse, between the copse and the line of trees behind it, in the winter you can't actually walk there because there's a slight depression and it's absolutely full of water, and even the copse is full of water. So, I mean, I suppose the willow really love that, but not great for walking. But still, I'd be able to cut paths along here and be able to go along there and maybe cut another one to come along back. So again, this one, the path did get away with me. So it's very small now. But this is full. So now it looks all a bit dismal. But maybe 6 weeks ago, it was glorious because all of the thistles were in flower, the hogweed was in flower, you can just about see some yellow, well maybe you can't, they're too far away, but there were pink flowers, I don't know what they were. There was yellow flowers, there were all the thistles, beautiful purples in flower, and it was absolutely lovely. But obviously we're coming into autumn now, aren't we? So everything's dying back. So this field, so can you see that gate further along there? Just over there is a gate. So this tree line is my boundary. That's where the road is. And then all along here, if you can see that, can you just about see that gate there? That gate goes down to the river as well. But again, all of that is impenetrable because he planted trees where a path should really be. It's a bit weird. So I'm going to have to sort that out. But anyway, it's just, I know everything's dead or dying, getting ready for the winter rest, but this to me is still beautiful. So yeah, the point, I'm babbling on, but the point I was trying to make is that I'm going to plant trees in here. So I'm gonna take this down. I don't know if I do want to actually. There are so many different, like, I don't know what this is. Does anyone know what this is? Yolande, do you know? This is beautiful. There's plantain. There's all kinds of different plants and wildflowers in here, and I feel very reluctant to take it down. So I wonder if maybe I should just leave it. I really don't know. Just leave it to be wild. Just cut paths in it and let it be wild. But my initial idea was to plant trees in here, so all the little trees that I find elsewhere, to just let me turn you around. So all the trees and plants that I put elsewhere. That was a bad bit of filming. I spun the camera around while I was trying to say something. I should have really stopped and then spun it around. Anyway, yeah, so I don't know really if I'm going to put the woodlands here, just because of how many wildflowers there are, wild plants there are, but we'll see. Maybe I'll just put a few, maybe not loads. There's decisions, isn't it? Anyway, I think I'll stop there. I don't know how long this video is, but it's probably longer than it should be. And I'll catch you again next week. I think I'm going to start on a few projects next week, which I'll maybe record. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. Sometimes I wonder if it's a bit boring, but anyway, I'll see you next time.